Good morning, everyone. So I too don't have jokes, but I do have a story to share, and actually a recent experience that I consider a holy grail moment in advertising. Sitting watching one of my favorite TV shows with a friend, and commercial comes on. So my friend picks up the magazine, starts flipping through it, and I realize, to my great excitement, TV commercial that just aired matched the print ad that my friend just flipped past. I mean, what are the chances of that happening? And of course, I'm thinking already topic for the next PDRF conference, and my friend's like, what are you getting all excited about? I said, look, we are two people. That's easy. But imagine trying to find the millions of impressions this campaign was intended for. And then imagine trying to find the millions of people actually exposed and then track if they actually made a purchase. That's really difficult. And that's actually what we're here to talk to you about today, is how we did that, measuring sales impact in cross-media campaigns. So Time Inc. and Nielsen Catalina Solutions have had an invaluable partnership for the past 5 years. We've really been able to, along with some of our other print publishers in the industry, to provide advertisers with an actual way to measure sales impact from their campaigns in print as well as in digital. Now, 2 years ago, Time Inc. and Nielsen Catalina Solutions presented their groundbreaking paper on measuring sales impact in cross-media. And the outcome was pretty simple. One, it's possible, but more importantly, there are synergies that can be identified. But we realized, though, that there was more work that needed to be done. So this year's conference, we want to dig deeper and ask 3 important questions. First of all, can we actually develop a more holistic approach to capturing print, digital, and TV? Can we really understand the consumer response from those different platforms? And lastly, how do we actually quantify the synergistic effects? So, spoiler alert, the answer is yes to all of those. We can actually find a more holistic approach, and Phil is actually going to go into more detail about the response that we can identify from print, digital, and television, and the synergistic effects that we can quantify using this modified and more holistic approach. So with that, going to break down the single source approach that is used. Now, it's a bit of a buzzword, single source. Everyone wants to use it. Everyone wants to be part of the game. And this slide kind of shows, oh, it's really easy, right? Just put all this data into one bucket, and out comes your output. But it's really not that simple. And in fact, it's very challenging given the fact that there are nuances to every single data set. And so the crux of this approach was overcoming those hurdles that allowed us to actually combine these different data sets into one single source approach. So what was the first hurdle? When looking at models to use in analyzing the data, the fact is that there are different models that are preferred for different types of media. So with television, inherent in its mass reach, cognitive Advantix is really ideal. And that's what Phil's actually going to spend more time explaining how the inner workings of CA was applied to this measurement. But the one main attribute is it takes the purchase occasion first and then looks back in a period of time to see if there was an exposure. And with TV, you can do that. Now, the thing is with print, you can't quite use that same model, because while we may know when a magazine hits someone's mailbox, we don't actually know when they opened it up. We don't know which sitting they actually saw that ad. So we can't define a relationship between purchase occasion and actual exposure date, which means that cognitive Advantix is not ideal and ANCOVA is really best suited. But at the end of the day, we need to combine these 2 data sets. So the first hurdle was, how do we use these 2 different models? But there was another hurdle that we need to overcome, and that is sample size. I mean, whoever complains about too much sample? But we're starting off with a print and digital panel of 25 million households. That's tremendous. Now, this panel for print is client proprietary data. It's our subscriber database that we've matched to Nielsen Catalina. The TV panel of 4 million households, also very rich. But at the end of the day, we have this cross-media panel. It's the subset of the 2. And there's only 250,000 households there. So what do we do here? First, these two different panels for print and television allows us to run the ANCOVA model in print. It allows us to run the cognitive Advantix in TV and really see how the data responds and then calibrate it so that in the cross-media panel, where what we're getting is the actual understanding of the relationships between those two media, we can calibrate the model so that we can see the same types of results within this smaller subset panel. So net-net, the holistic approach is really taking two big challenges head-on. The first is we have two different preferred models that we need to combine into one, and we have these large sample sizes that we get pared down into a smaller subpanel. So this modified approach, this enhanced approach, has really taken all of that into consideration and using it to create an accurate cross-media methodology so that, one, this is not theoretical but practical, and that this can be applied to today, and that the results are reliable. So in conversations where we're talking about TV, dollars, stealing money from print and digital, the conversation should really be about, we're going to show you how the synergies exist, because what you really need is a true cross-media campaign. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Phil, who's going to go into more detail about cognitive Advantix.
So as Maggie pointed out, we used a new methodology for this body of work. So what makes it different from what we've done in the past is we shift our focus from the household to the purchase occasion. So what we do is in our data, we look for instances where households make a trip to the store. Then we look back 28 days to see what media that household was exposed to. Now the reason we do this is so we can more accurately account for attribution. To illustrate this, we can look at a single household's buying behavior. So at the top of the slide, there's a gray line that represents the campaign timeline. On it are T's and P's, which represent exposures to the TV ad or exposures to the print and digital ads. Below it are POs, which indicate trips to the store. And the blue line preceding that is the 28-day interval I just mentioned. So we can see here that before going to the store the first time, this household sees both the TV and print and digital ads. So this occasion was supported by all media. Before going to the store the second time, the household just sees ads in magazines and online. So this occasion was supported just by those. And before going to the store the final time, the household doesn't see any advertisements. So this is considered an unexposed purchase occasion. So you see, by shifting our focus from the household to the occasion, we have a much better idea of the relationship between what a household sees and what a household buys. So NCS has measured over 3,000 campaigns. And we've done this using a single medium sales effect approach. And what enables that is what we call implicit controls. So by considering certain covariates, we can assume that the same percentage of test and control households see ads on other platforms. But with this body of work, we set out to find what we can do when we explicitly control for ads on multiple platforms. What we found is we can not only find the baseline effect of each medium, but also we can quantify the synergistic effect from ads airing or being placed simultaneously. So we used Crystal Light as the brand to help drive this body of work. And on the slide, we have results for the Crystal Light campaign. We can see that through implicit controls, the TV ad generated a response of 7 cents. So what that means is that households that saw the TV ad, on average, spent 7 cents more on Crystal Light. For those that just saw the TV ad, they spent 6 cents more, while those that saw the print and digital ad in addition spent 14 cents more, 8 of which came from synergy. So what that means is the TV ad was 8 cents more effective because a household also saw the print and digital ad in the background. We can do the same for print and digital. This campaign generated a response of 32 cents, 29 for just the households that saw print and digital only, and 34 cents for those that saw TV as well, 5 of which came from Synergy. So if we hang on to a few of these numbers, the 8 and 5 cents, which are the Synergy numbers, and the 6 and 29 cents, which are the baseline numbers, we can determine the overall effect of the campaign. So we know that 86 million households saw the TV ad. And we also know that on average, they spent 6 cents more on Crystal Light. So the TV ad generated $5.2 million. The same math can be applied to the print and digital campaign. And we see that this one generated $6 million. Now, there were 11.8 million households that saw ads on all media. And among these households, $1.6 million was generated from Synergy. This is the 8 and 5 cents that we saw on the previous slide. When we bring this all together, we see that the total Crystal Light campaign generated $12.7 million. Now, one way to compare across all the different platforms is we can look at the return on ad spend, which is how many dollars were generated for every dollar spent on media. For TV, it was $1.49. Print and digital, we can see, was more effective at $1.97. And then the Crystal Light campaign overall generated $1.95 for every $1 spent on media. So not only were we able to determine the baseline effect of each media, we were also able to determine or quantify the synergy, which was, again, $1.6 million. Now, this is the unintended benefit that the brand got from advertising on multiple platforms. And that synergy can be further broken down into the contribution from print and digital, which was $987,000, and the contribution from TV, which was $573,000. And with that, I'll pass it back to Maggie to wrap it up.
Thanks. I let Phil do all the numbers talking. It just makes it more fun that way. So in conclusion, one of the most important outcomes of this paper was an improved methodology, one that we can, as I mentioned before, apply today and repeat with reliable results. We were able to measure the response by the individual platforms, so really breaking it down by how print and TV respond differently and together. And lastly, quantifying those synergies so we can put some real numbers behind what that actual return on ad spend was. But we don't want to stop here, of course. And we want to think of future research. So secondary audience is probably one of the oldest holy grails. While MRI has been great in providing a count for what that audience looks like, finding those people is nearly impossible. So our next quest, if you will, is how can Nielsen, Catalina, and MRI, and various sources out there actually find that secondary audience and link it back to some purchase behavior? Because what we want to know is, did that secondary audience buy more or less than our subscribers and newsstand buyers? There's also work to be done in mobile and radio. At the time of this study, mobile was not taggable, and mobile browsers are a huge part of digital plans. And lastly, we really need to be militant about tagging. Now, that's a strong word, but the reality is that a lot of digital tags fall off into the ether, and then we lose the capability to measure. So we really need to do more work in these 3 areas. Thank you. Is one of these yours?